Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. Today is Thursday, the 24th of November, 2022. We've got important stories to discuss with you. So without further ado, let's tell you what we are going to talk about during the course of the show. We will begin with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who has appointed Lieutenant General Zahid Shamshad Mirza as the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Lieutenant General Syed Asim Munir as the Chief of the Army Staff using the constitutional authority. The summary was sent to the President of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi, who's also signed the summary. So this is now official. Also, the 27th of November is when incumbent Chairman, Joint Chief of Staff Committee, General Nadeem Raza, and Chief of the Army Staff, General Bajwa, will be doffing their army uniforms. So, of course, we've got a new Chief of the Army Staff. We've got a new Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. We hope that things will only go smoothly and strongly from here onwards for Pakistan. And we will be discussing the different aspects of these two appointments, the present, the future, as well as where Pakistan will be moving ahead under the leadership of these two gentlemen. Our second segment, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the unwarranted statement of a high-ranking Indian Army officer concerning Azad Jammu and Kashmir, which the DG ISPR has said is an apt manifestation of Indian Armed Forces' delusional mindset and showcases the vivid imprint of domestic political showboating on Indian military thought. We will be discussing how the Indian Army has now and also in the past been fabricating statements and giving misleading statements as far as Pakistan is concerned, as far as Azad Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, when itself it is embroiled in barbarities, human rights abuses in the Indian held valley of illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and also within India. This is going to be our second segment. Let's begin with the first, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a new Chief of the Army Staff and a new Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Lieutenant General Zahid Shamshad Mirza and Lieutenant General Syed Asim Munir are now the new holders of these two important positions in the Pakistan Army. More in the following report.
Lieutenant General Asim Munir has been appointed as the new Army Chief of Pakistan Army. He will take the baton from outgoing Chief on 29th November. General Asim Munir has served in top positions during his career, including DGISI, DGMI, Corps Commander Gujranwala. General Asim Munir is a graduate of Officers Training School Mangla and a recipient of Sword of Honor. He joined Frontier Force Regiment as a commissioned officer, a Hafiz-e-Quran. General Asim was appointed Director General Military Intelligence in 2017. After promotion to the rank of Lieutenant General in 2018, he was appointed DGISI. In 2019, he led Gujranwala Corps. In October 2021, General Asim Munir joined GHQ as Quartermaster General. And this appointment brings an end to weeks of rumor-mongering from certain quarters. Today's appointments also established Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif as one in charge, who kept allies on board and distractors at a distance.
As we've told you in the report that you've just watched about the two appointments that have been made about Lieutenant General Asim Munir Saab, Lieutenant General Zahid Shamshad Mirza Saab. As far as Lieutenant General Asim Munir Saab is concerned, he joined the Pakistan Army from the Mangla Officers Training School program, then became a commissioned officer in the Frontier Force Regiment, commanded the Northern Areas Forces as Brigadier, and was appointed the Director General of the Military Intelligence in early 2017. In 2018, was appointed the DG of the ISI, then was posted as Corps Commander Gujranwala for 2 years. He was serving currently as a quartermaster at the General Headquarters. And of course, he is now going to become the first Army Chief who has headed both the military intelligence as well as the ISI. Lieutenant General retired Talat Masood Saab joins us online. Sir, thank you very much to have joined us. It had been quite some time since we had talked in my show. So welcome to Newsroom. Sir, after days of speculation, anticipation, apprehension about the appointment of the military's top brass, top office, that it could face delays, we saw how different statements were emanating as far as the current opposition is concerned. Did today's development, in your point of view, circumvent any prospect of uncertainty as far as Pakistan is concerned?
No, I think it was a very wise and a correct decision that has been taken. And it was also very timely in the sense that things were getting a little out of hand. And especially the way that, the opposition was trying to sort of play with the appointment of the Chief of the Army Staff, because it is not the right thing to do. But nonetheless, I think things will now settle down. And the choice is excellent because uh, General Asim Munir has a bright sort of an officer who has had an excellent career and a very stable sort of a person, and very serious minded in that sense, and his background is very good. So I would expect that things are going to be better. And the best part of it is that he has said that he will try to take the army out of politics. And that would be the greatest contribution that he would make towards strengthening our armed forces and strengthening the security of the country. And then I think he will focus on professionalism, and that is extremely important because in the way that even apart from the threat from India all the time, the instability in Afghanistan, and also the rising, wave of terrorism in Pakistan also has to be countered, and in this the military plays a very major role. So I think all these considerations, I would think that this choice is very appropriate, and now I should think that we should leave these people alone and not try to sort of bring them into politics or try to sort of be all that they should be on the news all the time. We should leave it to them, and you will see some very positive results coming out. And so is the chairman joint staff. He's also a very experienced person, and he has also a very brilliant record. And I think they will get along very well with each other.
I certainly hope so, and these are two very important positions, and we've got two very important gentlemen with a very solid background who've now occupied officially these positions now that the President has also signed the summary. Talat Masood Saab, I'd like to understand as to why in the past attempts were made by the opposition to make these appointments controversial. What was the end, at the end of it all, we have had the appointments made, the President has signed the summary, they are officially now the new Chief of the Army Staff, and now the CSC. But in your point of view, why all this hullabaloo made by the opposition in the past? What was the basic aim behind it in your point of view?
Well, I think he was very jittery and nervous, and in the sense he was wanting that the military command should really support him, and there should be no general who should be promoted to the rank of the chief or four-star unless he has got a sort of a sympathy or support would support him. So this is a very wrong thing that he was looking for, and General Asim would certainly not be against PTI or any person. I think he will try to keep the military away from politics, and this is exactly why we should be very happy about it, and let the politicians solve their problems, on their own, and not rely on the military, because this has been the history for the last 75 years, and they have destroyed the political institutions of Pakistan as a consequence of that. It has had a very serious impact on the economy of the country, on the image of the country. And I think there is a huge responsibility on the new commanders, both the Chief of the Army Staff and the Chief of the Joint Staff, and also the politicians, now to realize that we can start with a new beginning, provided their thinking and orientation is right.
Talat Masood Saab, these two appointments come at a time when Pakistan needs stability the most. We've seen how Pakistan has gone to a very unstable period in the last few months, especially because of the opposition, their dharnas, the way they conducted their whole campaigns against the military, talked openly against the military, then backed out, then talked against the previous Chief of the Army Staff, and then backed out. This sends a very wrong image internally within Pakistan, especially the youth who follow the respective party, and also externally to all those countries who want to invest in Pakistan. How important now is the responsibility of these two gentlemen to create an aura of stability in Pakistan, so that Pakistan can again invite the people to come and invest in our country. Also, there are a lot of political issues concerning the region with the Russia-Ukraine war, with Afghanistan, with India, and so on and so forth. So how important are these two appointments at this particular time frame?
These are very important, and I think you have analyzed it very correctly about their importance, and there is no doubt about it. We are going through a very difficult period. Everyone knows that, and despite that, we were not conducting ourselves the way we should have responsibly. And I think they will bring in responsibility, they will bring in calm, they will bring in maturity. We are expecting that from them. And so are we expecting from the politicians that they will also conduct themselves in a way, both the government and the opposition, especially the opposition. And I think Imran Khan Sahib has to really rethink his policies, especially now that this phase of appointment of the chief is over. And I think he should rely more on his, he's got a lot of popular support. He should really focus on politics and focus on strengthening the political institutions, the parliament. He should attend the parliament. He should attend the parliamentary committees. He should really give importance to these rather than do politics on the roadside, because that is destroying Pakistan's politics. It is creating confusion and havoc and is affecting the economy of the country, which is already going through a very difficult period. And it's also hurting the image of Pakistan. So I think he has to really be, and he has the potential, if he wants, to sort of take the correct course, and we are only hoping that.
All right, so only time will tell, Masood Sahab. This said, thank you so very much to have joined us, Lieutenant General retired Talat Masood Sahab, talking to us about the two important appointments that now have been made official. Lieutenant General Asim Munir, who is now the Chief of the Army Staff, who was previously a 3-star general, currently performing the duties of a quartermaster general in the Pakistan Army before his appointment as the Chief of the Army Staff was made official. He was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant General in September 2018, served as a DGISI. He is from the 17th course of the Officers Training School in Mangla, was commissioned in the 23rd Battalion of the Frontier Force Regiment, also has, as I said in the beginning, served as the Director General of Military Intelligence, also commanded a division deployed in the northern areas of Pakistan. In 2019, he was appointed as the Corps Commander of the Army Corps in Gujranwala. He has also served in Saudi Arabia as a Lieutenant Colonel, and during his posting in Medina, when he was a Lieutenant Colonel, he became Hafiz-e-Quran at the age of 38. Also is a Sword of Honor of his course, and was awarded the Hilal Imtiaz in March of 2018. When it comes to Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza, let's talk a little bit about what is the Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee. This is an inter-services forum. It works for coordination between the 3 armed forces. The CSC also serves as a principal military advisor to the Prime Minister and the National Command Authority. Now, Lieutenant General Sahir Hilal Istiqlal Military is a 3-star general, currently is commanding Rawalpindi Corps since September 2021. In October of last year, he was posted as the Corps Commander Rawalpindi. Then he was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant General in June 2019, served as Adjutant General and Chief of General Staff. He is from the 17th Long Course of the PMA. He was also commissioned in the 8th Battalion of the Sindh Regiment. He hails from the Sindh Regiment, the same as the outgoing Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee, General Nadeem Raza. Zahid Gishkori, renowned journalist, joins us online. Zahid, also it had been quite some time since we had talked in our show, so welcome back to Newsroom. Zahid, I'd like to begin with these two appointments now that they have been official, as the President of Pakistan, Dr. Arif Alvi, has signed the summaries for these two gentlemen. What lies ahead for these two posts and these two gentlemen?
I think it's a very good story and very good news for Pakistan and Pakistan national security. The process smoothly has been done by the President of Pakistan, as there was a lot of chaos, political uncertainty, and many things were going on in international media everywhere that what would happen with the summary, with the new chief as well. So finally, it has been smoothly done, which is absolutely very good news. And obviously, the choice was the best this time, because 2 most senior lieutenant general were chosen for the top slot, and it's a good choice, good politically decision taken by the Prime Minister. Obviously, he was some sort of under pressure, but he did well. And challenges for the new Chief of Army Staff are Herculean, apparently. And good news is that the new Chief of Army Staff of Pakistan has an excellent professional credential. He has been Pakistan top spy chief, military intelligence chief, and has been serving on very key posting in his career. So both are truly a, a professional soldier. It's a good news. And one most important thing that there was a political chaos and what happened today and the role of President of Pakistan has been commendable because he was not only dealing with his party leadership and certain many issues as well. Ultimately, he handled and everything went smoothly. And your question that if I can add to that, there could be challenges for Pakistan, and now should be focused on our national security and many more things. And the government has now completed with almost all tasks was set 7 months ago, and now they should focus on Pakistan dwindling economy, in my opinion, because Pakistan is facing multiple challenges. Economic front is one of at the top leading problem for the country.
Zahid, when you look at Pakistan's internal politics, we've seen the mayhem that has ensued in the past few months, specifically from the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and its leader and its different, its of course head chairman and then its different leaders. As far as the appointments of these two posts are concerned, these were made controversial in the past. The whole institution of the military was made controversial in the past. Do you feel the local politics, now that these appointments have been made official, will calm down? Will the opposition now calm down and look specifically into working with the government towards things that concern Pakistan, such as strengthening its economy?
This is very unfortunate that Pakistan politics continue to focus on such things. And what happened with PTI since Imran Khan was ousted through a legitimate process in the parliament, and he targeted. Obviously, everybody knows this: the military establishment and the American conspiracy and the regime change and many other things. And he played his politics surrounding all these issues, and establishment in the military was dragged unnecessarily in the politics by Imran Khan recently, and it should come to an end now because the new military leadership has extremely professional credential, and obviously the previous one as well. General Bajwa served for 6 long years, and obviously every soldier has a wonderful credential in Pakistan military history. So now they should start politics with their own issues. The country is facing far. They should keep this security establishment aside. They should not use this tool, and they should understand this. And that's what today President Alvi did. I think one should appreciate his role because he not only convinced Imran Khan, who, according to my sources, wanted to play politics in the coming 3-4 days on this very particular issues, and he categorically and he called spade a spade that I am the supreme commander of Pakistan Armed Forces, and I would do what constitutional position allows me to do. And that's why he did this. He convinced his own party leadership as well, and he did the right thing, which he was supposed to do. And that's good thing. And I hope that Pakistani politics and Pakistani politicians will not involve Pakistan military in political affairs to run their campaign, to run their many more things. We have to see this. Either they change their behavior and their way of politics, not to drag the establishment into this power corridors. And I hope the new leadership also understand this, and they would be focusing on, of course, external and internal national security issues. And obviously, they made it clear already that they are apolitical. And this was the only thing PTI was bashing. And now they would be in a search of, obviously, a new popular agenda, which could be popular among public. And they have to adopt something new to run their political campaigns after today's smooth sailing process done.
Let's hope, Zahid. Let's hope for the best, because Pakistan needs political stability, internal political stability as well, so that Pakistan can confront challenges such as the aftermath of the floods and the millions of people who have been left homeless. This is one thing that all the politicians, especially from the opposition, should join hands with the government. Where the government has been talking about a charter of the economy that hasn't been paid heed to as well. I really hope also that both the opposition and the current government will sit together to chart out some kind of charter of economy, so that the country can move ahead as well under all the challenges that it is confronted with. Speaking of challenges, in your point of view, what are the important challenges that lie ahead for these two important gentlemen?
This is very interesting thing to share many things. While I came across their profiles in different national media as well, they all appreciate that Pakistan has now chosen its former top military spy, intelligence agency head, and now he is the head of Pakistan Army. Obviously, one thing is important. How do you see, when I as a journalist think that the Pakistan political parties be dealing with all these crises, and the government also obviously is done with the task. We can say it because all their key appointments have been made now, and this was a challenge which once set a political arena of Pakistani different, in perspective of Pakistan, different debates. And one thing I can tell you this, that it was a big task for Prime Minister as well, because he was discussing, he was consulting this very important matter with not only its allies, because it's a cluster of political parties now ruling the government, and on the other side, he was also taking confidence into top military leadership as well, because the legacy of General Bajwa for the last 6 years, now the new chief is continue to carry on different fronts, because the fencing the border, it's almost fenced in KPK and now in Balochistan, and the negotiation Pakistan was in with TTP and our neighboring country security situation, and obviously Pakistan relationship with the friendly country as well. And other task is this, the two senior most 3-star generals now took over, and now obviously new challenges, they are looking into it, and the country.
But Zahid, above all, I feel this is going to usher in an era of stability, because all those question marks, all that mayhem that was being propagated by the opposition, that has now died down. The posts are official, they have officially taken over, and now the country can heave a sigh of relief. Those like myself, like so many others, who wanted the country to move ahead in an aura, in an era, in an atmosphere where we can talk about important things like the economy, like how to take care of all those who have been affected by the floods, and also strengthening Pakistan on different fora. Now we can at least, I hope, concentrate on this and not on other matters that have destabilized Pakistan in the last few months. Thank you very much, Zahid Gishkori, leading journalist, to talk to us about these two very important appointments. Lieutenant General Asim Munir Saab as the Chief of the Army Staff, and Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza Saab as the new CJCSC. Congratulations from all of Pakistan to both of these distinguished gentlemen. Let's come to our second topic, and that concerns illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the unwarranted statement that has come from a high-ranking Indian Army officer concerning Pakistan's Azad Jammu and Kashmir, that has had a very sharp rebuttal by our DG ISPR. More in the following report.
Indian Army is employing repressive use of force and gross human rights violations against innocent unarmed Kashmiris striving for their right of self-determination upheld by international law and enshrined in UN Security Council resolutions. Indian assault on democratic values and civil liberties has now garnered global attention as India received scathing criticism from civil society groups during fourth cycle of Universal Periodic Review in Human Rights Council in Geneva. In its malicious attempt to divert attention from war crimes crimes in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, Indian military is resorting to irresponsible rhetoric and vitriolic communication. DG ISPR Lieutenant General Babar Iftikhar has strongly rejected the unwarranted statement of a high-ranking Indian Army officer regarding Azad Jammu and Kashmir. The DG ISPR said the fallacious remarks and unfounded allegations demonstrate an apt manifestation of Indian Armed Forces' delusional mindset and showcases the vivid imprint of domestic political showboating on Indian military thought. Reminding Indian military humiliating retreat during Balakot misadventure, DG ISPR emphasized that Pakistan's desire for peace is matched with our capability and preparation to thwart any misadventure or aggression against our territory. The international community should redouble efforts to hold India accountable for its aggressive hegemonic designs and resolve the lingering dispute of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir that continues to threaten regional and global peace.
Dr. Farah Naz, who's a leading IR expert, joins us online. Dr. Farah Naz, pleasure to have you on board. Dr. Farah, when you look at the statement by Lieutenant General Upendra Dwivedi from Tuesday that followed Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's remarks about retrieving so-called quote-unquote parts of Azad Kashmir and claims that citizens were subjected to human rights violations in the region. That and, of course, Dwivedi, who is the General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Indian Army's Northern Command, who responded and, of course, talking about a resolution that already existed in the Indian Parliament. How does all of that bode? This is not the first time that the Indian government or representatives from the Indian Armed Forces have talked against Pakistan, have talked against Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and have talked about India's big brotherly attitude. Do you feel that this is going to have strategic implications in the region, and do you feel that the DGISPS statement has been strong enough to rebuke these two statements?
Thank you, Omar, for having me. One thing we have to look into and to take it into consideration is that it is the first time that such kind of immature statements coming from our counterpart, India. I think they have every now and then coming up with certain kind of messages that kind of try to, to provoke Pakistan. But they have seen the rebuttal towards that. And history, the 2019 history is not that far that people have forgotten. India knows that Pakistan has not only the capability, but the capacity to respond back to Indian atrocities when it comes to any sort of violation, let it be the statements that are coming up, or let it be the 2019 incident when they tried to cross the borders. I think the response was quite strong. At this stage, when such kind of comments are coming up, Indian leadership, especially the one you have quoted here, probably they were thinking, and they still think, that Pakistan and Pakistan leadership is busy in settling down the political chaos that we're going through. So does this mean that Pakistani armed forces have gone on holidays and they are not, taking into consideration their duties seriously? I think they are completely mistaken. Our forces, our armed forces, particularly the army, including the Air Force and Navy, they all are active enough on the borders, and they know their responsibilities very well. And through the Abhinandan's case, we have proven it that when it comes to violation of our borders, when it comes to violation of our sovereignty, our response is quite immediate and on time, and they are very well aware of that. So if they by mistake, I repeat, if they by mistake try to do anything, the response will be quite stronger this time, and they know our strength and our capabilities.
All right, now Dr. Farah Naz, also I'd like to quote the atrocious statement he said, Mr. Dwivedi said, as far as the Indian Army is concerned, it will carry out any order given by the government of India. We are always ready for it. He also talked about terrorists, so-called terrorists. This is a term that they have been using time and again. Well, in fact, their terrorists have been infiltrating Pakistan, and we have one in our custody since quite some time. They refer to terrorists in Jammu and Kashmir waiting for an opportunity to cross the line of control, sneak into India, and then the response, of course, comes from the DGISPR, and it's a very strong rebuke, and I think it was meant to have the impact that it has had, when it talks about the fallacious remarks and unfounded allegations of the so-called launch pads and terrorists that are an attempt to divert attention from Indian Army's repressive use of force and gross human rights violations against Kashmiris striving for their right to self-determination. On the one hand, Dr. Farah, they don't give the right to people in their own country, in the disputed territory, for the self-determination to determine what they want to do in their lives. On the other hand, when it comes to accusations, all fingers always at the slightest of pretext point towards Pakistan. Will this attitude from India ever end?
No, this attitude from India is not going to end at all. And Omar, it's not about the violation of the human rights in the Indian occupied Kashmir. What is happening in India? The other day, there were lots of stories strolling on the social media, Twitter, and all sort of platforms where the police was beating Dalit women, and where the way they are treating, their own people. If they cannot help and secure their own people, what can they do for the Indian occupied Kashmiris? And let alone they're speaking about now that they're just waiting for an order from the Indian government to come and to intervene into the territory which is under the Pakistan control. They are really living in dreams. They need to come out of that. And probably it will, through this kind of signaling and messaging, they were trying to check the nerves of Pakistan, that whether Pakistan is really looking into Indian moves towards Pakistan. Pakistan and the ISPR response, I think that was quite strongly, and it was on time, and it was quite strong. The way they responded, I think that was good enough to tell them that we are prepared to deal with any sort of atrocities that India tried to do against us. We know how to fight it back. And I think, as I quoted a while ago, that 2019 is not that far in the history. It's not like 2 decades or 3 decades ago, just a few years ago, that when they tried to violate it, we responded so quickly. And we told them, I think this was the same way. There was a statement coming up from ISPR that Pakistan will respond back to the violation of the sovereignty. And the way we responded, the world is witness to it. Here, I would urge the international community to come forward and ask India for such kind of statements that they are trying to do. Because the Indian occupied Kashmir and Pakistani occupied Kashmir and Kashmir all together, this is something that is in the United Nations, and it was the United Nations decision about it. So why don't they come forward and ask India about it? And what kind of statement?
That's a very interesting point that you put up, Dr. Farah Naz. It's a very interesting point that you put up, that the world needs to come forward. The world has made statements. The United Nations has made statements, although those statements have not been translated into actions, but the statements are there. The reports are there by the United Nations Human Rights Commission. And of late, 21 nations have urged India to ensure religious freedom. They talk about protection of minority communities, vulnerable groups, tackling gender-based violence, upholding civil society freedom, protecting human rights defenders, and ending torture in custody. So there are countries, there are human rights organizations that talk about Khurram Parvez, who's been incarcerated since 1 year. Around 12 human rights organizations have jointly made a statement as far as taking prisoners such as Khurram Parvez out of incarceration and giving him the freedom that he so deserves. There are, when you talked about international response, the response is coming. But do you feel this response is enough?
No, this is not enough, Omar. Only statements will not serve the purpose. If the international community, the champions of human rights, and all those international organizations that cater for human rights, they have to take strong steps towards it. And from strong steps, I mean they have to put some sanctions on India in the way they are treating their own people. First of all, they have to sort out the atrocities that they are dealing with all the marginalized communities, the atrocities that the Indian people, the Hindus, that they're facing there being there. I was impressed the other way. There was a video clip strolling on the Twitter where Modi was in some kind of ceremony and he tried to stop his address because there was some Muslim prayers taking place. What sort of gesture was that? And he was trying to tell, on one side he's killing people, on the other side he's doing this. This is mere hypocrisy. So the world knows, all these international communities, the champions of human rights, international organizations, that are aware of what is happening in India. But still they call them democratic country, the democracy of India and all of that. These are all statements that does not make sense to me. Because if they really want to help support people, particularly the marginalized communities, they have to do something about it. Why India is always and always going ahead with whatever they want to, and they don't want to resolve the conflicts that are coming up through Indian weird kind of policies and all of that. I
That is
think
what Dr.
this.
Farah Naz. I'd like to also quote what the DG ISPR said, and then I'd go to my next question. He said, in the interest of peace for the region, the Indian military would do well to abstain from irresponsible rhetoric and vitriolic communication to shore up electoral support for their political masters' regressive ideology. I'd also like to remind you here of Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh that had earlier given a delusional statement to have Gilgit-Baltistan as part of India to complete the mission of the Modi government by, of course, by what he did in 2019. Do you feel that India is orchestrating a heinous doctrine like the cold start doctrine? Do you feel that the world or the region or Pakistan will ever allow India to continue with such a doctrine?
No, I think, well, if somebody says something, this does not mean that they have the capacity to do it as well. Even today, if we say that we can reach Delhi, we can reach Mumbai, we can say it. There is no harm in saying things. But the thing is, they just try to violate the Pakistani territory and its sovereignty by when its planes kind of cross the borders. The world has seen what happened to them, so they have to be aware of that. Now today, when they are claiming that they probably will have Gilgit, but well, I am aware of we are aware of, the world is aware of Indian involvement in Balochistan, the Indian involvement in Gilgit-Baltistan, and the Indian involvement in Karachi. We are quite aware of that. But there are countermeasures taken to control all the involvement and manipulation that they're trying to do through intelligence infiltration and all of that. But our intelligence agencies are working on the same line. They are aware of where India is trying to violate the Pakistani sovereignty and try to manipulate the system. There's a counter mechanism happening. That's the reason that every now and then there are some kind of Indian spies getting arrested here in Pakistan. Kulbhushan is one of the biggest example. So we have to be very much aware of that. If India try to violate, to cross, we know how, when, where to respond back to that. And Pakistani forces, they are really strong and prepared enough when it comes to India and Pakistan.
And
Because
we have
when
shown India in the past as well that we are strong, if not stronger than them, when it comes to giving a
well,
strong rebuke or response to whatever
yeah,
machinations they are trying to get involved in. Dr. Farah, the United Nations, the Secretary General, do you feel they need to do more as far as such statements that emanate from India and the whole human rights abuses that have been going on, and this anti-Pakistan tirade, whether it be on traditional media, on social media, on different forms of media, false information that is being propagated by India deliberately? Do you feel that the United Nations Charter, such as in Article 99, that states that the Secretary General may bring to the attention of the Security Council any matter which, in his opinion, may threaten the maintenance of international peace and security, which is happening? What is happening in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir? What is happening as far as destabilizing the security of this region by statements such as those that we are talking about? Do you feel the United Nations role becomes even more important?
I think the United Nations roles is very pivotal when it comes to Indian fake news, propaganda, misinformation, disinformation. But we have seen through a couple of incidences that happened where recently, when in the infographics, what was that? Where there were some leaks, and through those leaks, there were Indian kind of deployed even dead people, and then later on the Western world find out that in all those non-governmental the Indian chronicles, I believe, so in that they found out that all those people who were deployed in those kind of organizations and non-governmental organizations, most of them were deceased. What did the world do about that?
Hmm.
Nothing. So India has always remained, I frequently say it, the favorite child of the West, the favorite child of all these important organizations. But I think enough is enough. And today, when these kind of statements coming up from India towards Pakistan, which are very strong and unacceptable at all levels, India needs to understand that we probably and we might be busy in settling out our own problems, but they are our problems, right? We know how to deal with them and we will come out of it. But this does not mean that our troops are on holiday and they are busy in enjoying their
Of
life
course.
and they are probably resting. No, no, our troops are busy enough on the borders. They know how to deal and when to deal and how to respond back. And we have shown to the world that when we want to respond, we know how to respond. We don't need to be guided by anyone. We don't need any sort of information from anyone. If there is violation coming up, if there is strong statements coming up, we know how to respond back. And I think the ISPR statement and the response, the rebuttal that came in, that was strong enough to tell them, behave yourself and mind your words. You will pay for it if you continue with this tone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Farah Naz, to have joined us, international affairs expert. Dr. Farah Naz, talking to us about the statements that have been emanating from the Indian side of late and from the Indian Army side of late as well. And this is just a continuous spate of such statements that have emanated. But I'd like to end today's show by I would not call it warning, but very strong wording, let's put it that way. We've got two very important people on two important posts now. This goes to all of people in our region, especially from across the border who are listening. We've got Lieutenant General Sahid Shamshad Mirza, we've got Lieutenant General Syed Asim Munir. Beware of any such machinations that you might try or want to try. We are there. The Army has always defended our motherlands, our borders, and will continue to do so under the able leadership of these two gentlemen. So kindly refrain in the future from making any such statements that could maybe at the end of the day destabilize your own country. Allah Hafiz.